I'm Roger. You'll find me on eBay as Old Cave Dog. And what I would like to do today is talk about the differences between the various Ponton models. This one here is a 1954 180. Now the 180 is also called a W120, and that causes some confusion. You'll notice it does not have trim here, or the piece of trim back here. In the back, because it's a 1954, it's got the smaller taillights, but if you can't get lenses, you can use the larger ones. That's what I did on my other 1954. It's got the really fancy license plate lights. They changed that later on. Then the back door, the doors are all the same size, but the early ones use a different opening lever. That's the same opening lever as the pre-war models. And on the later cars you won't get these decorative buttons here. The trim varies. The later Pontons have a different armrest. Oh, the later 180s, you get a separate vent window. Again, it's got the early door open lever. These are the same on all of them. These bakelite pieces here, if you take them out, be careful, they're real easy to break. The switch knobs have the chrome and the brown bakelite. The later ones from like 1960 to 1962 have switch knobs like the Fintails. What else should I tell you here? Oh, okay. Look at the shape of the instrument cluster. This will change on the 220S. The early rear view mirrors screw in. I don't know what year they switched to the spring snap, but the spring snap is safer. If your head hits this, you get injured worse than the ones that break out. Okay, I think that's, oh, this is the radio delete plate. Some of them have a radio with tubes. Are you old enough to remember radios with tubes? Okay, that kind of wraps us up over here. Oh, we should look at the engine. I almost forgot. It's a flathead 4-cylinder gasoline engine. Instead of having a cam or valves up here, the valves are alongside the cylinders. You can't get real high compression that way. A nice simple carburetor. The original air filters are very hard to find. Okay. Oh! The grill is different on the later Pontons, and when the grill is different, these pieces of trim are different too. The later ones, the turn signals are bigger, and you get the turn signal here on all of the 4-cylinder front and rear bumpers. This one's a 3-piece bumper. Some are 2-piece bumper. You can tell the fronts, they have a bend here to fit the grill in. The 1954 should have different wheels, but this one doesn't. The wheels on the 4 cylinders are 4.5 inches wide. The 220S, the 219, and the 190 SL, for anybody lucky enough to have one of those, has a 5-inch wheel. These are 13-inch wheels. There was an optional 15-inch wheel, but if you're going to put those on, you probably need the bigger fenders that went with it. I've never seen those. All right, the next thing to look at, this is a 190, also called a W121. engine is a little bit bigger. It's got the upgraded chrome with the piece here. Oh, and chrome here. You don't get that on the 180 either. This is the more typical front door with the typical opening lever. All of the front doors on all of the 4-door Pontons are interchangeable. The trim can vary. The armrests can vary. A little sand blew in. This has the same knobs. I like these knobs a lot better than the ones that came along later. Radio delete plate's got a 190 instead of 180. Same cluster. This one also has the earlier screw-in mirror. And of course the headliner coming down on my head. Alright, let me open up the hood. We'll take a look at the engine. This is a rodent repeller. A good thing to have when your cars are outside a lot. The engines are totally different. Even the later 180, which has the overhead cam, the engines are completely different. The heat exchangers, they say, are different for the 6 cylinders or the 220S. And these are made out of cardboard. I put an elbow through one before I knew it was cardboard. This is the real hard piece to get for the firewall, because the battery tends to make it rust out. So don't lose those. Should I tell you about this one? Oh, it's got the brake fluid reservoir up here. On the 1954s, the brake fluid reservoir is actually part of the master cylinder. It's kind of weird. Oh, this is a cool piece of history. It says, made in Western Germany. This is the other 1954 180. Our next video will probably be of driving this one around. It still has a brake problem I haven't figured out. The auxiliary lights are as close as I could find to the originals. Oh, and it's 6 volt, which I think is cool. Now, the original rear view mirrors are kind of small, and you don't have a right side mirror. So I added one of these. It's got a little bit of a curve to it. It's 300 millimeters long, and it helps make up for the absence of that mirror. If you're going to drive any place, it's a good idea to have it, and then you can always just take it off. You can always take it off when you're showing the car. I don't have anything with European headlights. The 220S had them, but I switched them to American sealed beams. The trim is a little bit different. The hardware holding the headlight is different. If you've got the European headlights, they work really well, but you can't interchange the trim. And I guess if you're a guy with a right-hand drive car, we'll talk about that someday, but I can't do it now. Okay. This one's the diesel. It's a 190. It's got the trim here. It's got the trim up here. This is a 1960 or 61, so it's got the knobs from the Pintail series. You see, it's a black plastic knob with a little chrome insert. It's got the same cluster. Some of them have different top speeds. This is called the pepper pot. You get that on the diesels. What it tells you is that your glow plugs should be getting hot. But this will glow even if the glow plug circuit's not working. With the diesels, if they don't start, chances are your glow plugs aren't working, or you're out of fuel, or you have air in the fuel. The cab drivers preferred the diesels because they don't need much maintenance. Not a lot to go wrong. What else is in here that's interesting? Okay, it's got the typical opening. The door panels change, but they all interchange. It's got the later armrest. It's a lot more comfortable on your elbow. And a cool thing on this car is if you can see these. This is for the original roof rack that Mercedes sold as an option. I don't think I'll ever find a roof rack, so I'm going to have to build something that looks like it's 80 years old. Well, 60 years old. Okay, the turn signal lights are bigger. The grille is wider. I learned recently from a customer on eBay that grille actually also fits the fin-tail cars. No, we're not going to open that. Engine swap is in progress. It's got the, I'm going to call it less attractive license plate light. The trunk handle is like this on all except the 220S. And this is the largest taillight of the series that came out in the 60s, and it's got that reflector down there. The tendency on taillights is to get bigger. I'd like to mention, on the 4 cylinders and the 219, you get one strip of trim here, fender, door. But on the 220S, there's 2 strips of chrome, or aluminum, really. It's got the same piece on the door and another piece below it which goes from the front fender to here. It's really hard to get these in good shape. Yeah. The 220S is also known as a W180, totally different from the 180, which is a W120. The names cause a fair bit of confusion. It's got this extra trim here also, which is kind of neat. This had a shoulder belt added to the, also added on seat belt. It's kind of neat the creative things people did to add seat belts. There is no right side mirror on, as far as I know, any of these cars unless you've got a right-hand drive car. And you can't take this mirror and put it on that side. Won't work. Okay. It's got a sunroof, so I have that to protect it. The 6-cylinder cars, you get these cool turn signal spears instead of the little blinker light here. I did see photographs of some 4-cylinders that had both turn signals. My guess is it was a fleet order for somebody. Now if you look in here, oh, this piece of trim is different. The back door is longer. It's 3 or 4 inches longer, which gives you more leg room. If you ever have to sit in the back seat, more leg room is nice. But the back door parts don't interchange, except like the handles, because the door's longer. This is wood instead of Bakelite plastic. The ashtrays are different. The positions of these are different. I've got 2 windshields ready to put in case the first one I try to put in breaks. The instrument cluster is different. The switches are pretty much the same. The clock is different. The front ashtray is different. See, it's got the original radio with an amplifier down here. And there's a second glove compartment over there, which I think is really cool. Glove box is different. It's wood. The door pockets, in better shape, they stay closed until you pull them open. what they say about the well, let me finish this one first. If you're going to do any work on the engine, it's easiest if you can get at it. The 4 bolts, there's 2 on each side, that hold the hood to the hinge, don't lose those. They're special bolts, they're shoulder bolts, and they're about $30 each when you have to replace them. The 220S, 6-cylinder engine, dual carbs. This one has the optional power brake. Another rodent control device. Now, what they say about the 219, also called the W105, is that from here forward they're the same, and that's almost true. The 219, you have 1 carb, different manifold. Everything else is probably the same. These are the original fog lights. They came standard on these. They got added to a lot of the smaller Pontons. This is 12 volts, not 6. There's more trim. Like I said before, this is different. This is all one piece. On the other Pontons, it's 2. I think these are just so cool. Oh, we have to look at door latches. Some of the door latches, that's the striker plate, kind of cone-shaped, and the latch looks like this. We'll go back and we'll look at the other latch soon. Anything else to say in here? No, probably not. All right, come around to the back. This is the typical taillight for all but the earliest and latest Pontons. And it's got this different handle for the trunk, although you can also use these. I think these taillights are just too cool. I really like them. Not taillights, license plate lights. Okay, and it says 220S. Sometimes the emblem you find on your car is not correct. Cars this old, anything can happen. Okay, let's go look at a different latch. This is the other latch. That looks like this here. The striker looks like that. I don't know why some cars got one and some cars got the other, but you have to match them. These have a grab handle here. On the 220S, there's a grab handle that goes all the way across the top. Oh, you'll find me on eBay. I'm Old Cave Dog. I've got a lot of Ponton parts and basically Mercedes-Benz from 1950 to 1980.